The husband was deeply upset. I think he was always hoping that Wendy just took herself off and one day would come walking through the door saying, "Sorry about that, but I'm back home now."
On the 7th of October 1998, Wendy Upton left the home she shared with her husband to visit this local supermarket, but she never returned home.
Wendy Upton was what you might call a streetwise person. She was quite a free spirit. She didn't work. She did mix within certain communities. She was a recreational drug user, and she had got an interest in the occult. The previous evening, she had said that she was going to visit the Tesco store in Lichfield, and her plan was to get some groceries, and then she was going to come back home. She never did come home. What was very helpful in terms of Wendy's last movements on that night is she had told her husband that she was going to Tesco's. There was CCTV at Tesco's which showed her going into the store and asking to speak to the security guard there, a man by the name of Stephen Salisbury. She then went out of the store, that is all on CCTV, and Salisbury is then seen going out of the store shortly afterwards. Wendy was not seen again after that.
Salisbury was interviewed by the police, but his answers didn't offer any concrete information about where Wendy might be.
Stephen Salisbury took part in both a reconstruction of the events, which was filmed by both the local ITV and BBC, and was then interviewed afterwards.
I asked him in an interview whether he thought Wendy Upton was still alive.
I hope she is, because being as I've left the store, I miss the customers and that, miss talking to them, and I miss Wendy, because it was just hard somebody to talk to when she come in the store.
My impression of Stephen Salisbury at the time was that his responses were a little hollow and lacked sincerity. And I can recall very clearly, out of the corner of my eye, seeing the officer who was in charge of the investigation watching the interview.
At the time that we did the reconstruction and Salisbury was interviewed, he was a nominal of interest to us. He was the last person who had reported seeing Wendy before she disappeared, so that was obvious of significant interest. But there was no evidence which connected him directly with whatever had happened, apart from being the last person that we knew had seen Wendy.
The police had one last roll of the dice left. They decided to throw everything they had at a painstaking search of the wood in the hope they might at last make a breakthrough.
That area was quite extensively overgrown, so what the search team decided to do was progress very carefully along the back of that area and cut the foliage, cut the plant life down to ground level, so they could do it step by step and not miss any evidence that may or may not have been there. When we started searching, one of the residents whose house backed onto this area of undergrowth said that in the warmer months they had had problems with a lot of flies around a particular area of that undergrowth, kind of in the middle of it. On the basis of that information, the search team decided to focus on that area first.
The Pulsar team moved in. They came at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and we got a call at about midday to say that they found a body.
After 9 months of searching, the police had finally found Wendy Upton. But in so doing, their worst fears and those of her friends and relatives had been realised.